YouTube family, it's your girl Leah, back again with another video. In today's video, as you can see from the title, is another foundation review Friday. And today's foundation is the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop. And I know I'm not the first person to say this, but I always think of the song. But it's the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop Full Coverage Foundation. It's supposed to be a 24-hour matte finish foundation. And this isn't by any means new, it's new-ish, but I'm kind of late to the game. It came out a couple months ago, and I'm not one of these people that just runs out and buys it. I give it a little bit of time, hit the market, see if it gets recalled, see if there's any issues with foundations, and then I jump on board and see for myself if it's an actually good foundation. This foundation has 45 shades. That's, I think, the biggest drugstore release. If you guys aren't familiar with my series at all, welcome to the family. These are not first impressions. I have tested the foundation out throughout the week with different primers, with different applicators and all of that, and I come on here on Saturday and film for you guys what my thoughts are on the foundation. So I know pretty much before I even apply this how it's going to work out, but I'm sharing those details with you. Also, I leave every foundation that I've tried in this series, what shade I am in that foundation, down below. So if you're my foundation shade twinsy out there, you can see if we align on some things. If you say, oh, we're a match here, we're a match here, it's just to help you guys out to see if we're on the same track and see if the shades that I have today will be a good match for you. Now, back to what the site says about this foundation. It's a lightweight, waterproof, and pigmented AF. I hate when brands try to be cool. You ain't gotta be all cool like that. Like, we get it. NYX Professional Makeup's Can't Stop, Won't Stop Full Coverage Foundation hustles as hard as you do, again with the foolery. This comfy, lightweight formula comes in 45 flattering tones that don't transfer. Every creamy shade glides on smooth, delivering matte coverage and color that stays true for up to 24 hours. Now, like I said, there are 45 shades. I have the shade Warm Caramel and Nutmeg. Now, I bought mine online. They always have buy one, get one half off sales on Ulta, so that's where I bought it from. Now, for the price, I think it was at the time that I purchased it, it was about $13. Now, I checked Ulta today. I don't know if it's a sale or if this is the new markdown price. It was $10.49 for this foundation, so for one of them. So total between the two, it cost me about 20 bucks to get both of these originally, which I didn't feel like was a waste because it is a very cheap foundation. Now, Nutmeg is the darker of the two shades that I got. Warm Caramel is a little bit lighter, and there are 14 shades darker than Nutmeg, which I believe is super impressive. There's not that many foundations out there that have 14 shades in total. So 14 shades darker than mine, that's a win. Nutmeg is described as a medium deep with cool undertones, and Warm Caramel is described as a medium with neutral undertones. So let's just hop right into seeing how the actual shades look. Now, this is Nutmeg, the darker of the shades, and I'm gonna put this right here on my skin so you can kind of see it. That's Nutmeg, and then right beside that I'm going to put Warm Caramel. So weird. On my arm, Warm Caramel actually looks like the darker of the two. I don't know, let's see. Let's watch it a little bit. Warm Caramel, Nutmeg. Warm Caramel, Nutmeg. They're so evenly yoked. But first, let me go into priming my face. Now, they have a primer for this. It's called NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop Primer. Now, it is a matte primer. I am dry skin. I'm very dry skin, super dry skin. So a matte primer just isn't gonna work for me. Overall, a matte foundation typically a lot of times doesn't work for me, but I bought this foundation as a test to see if I can make it work for me. So I have the NYX Honey Do Me Up. Now, this is for somebody who's extremely dry skin. So if you're dry skin, the NYX Honey Do Me Up is an amazing primer. But if you are oily skin, no, please stay away from this. Stay away from this primer because, honey, it's very juicy. It's very, and I've used a lot of this, so I'm pretty much scraping at the bottom. I need to buy another one. It's like $16 at Ulta or Target or wherever you buy NYX at, but I really like it. I've tried this foundation out the entirety of this week. I tried Warm Caramel one day, Nutmeg one day, a combination of both one day. I really, honest to God, saw no difference between any of them. Any day that I wore it, I could not figure out for the life of me what was my better match. And even now, as this is drying up, it's like, if you can see, ain't a lot. I mean, I can see maybe a little bit more of a neutral undertone in Warm Caramel than I can in Nutmeg, but my gosh, they are so similar. And they're not shades that are right beside each other on the spectrum either. There are a couple of shades in between Warm Caramel and Nutmeg. I actually feel like I'm gonna go with Warm Caramel today. That's the one I'm going to overall be applying. I'm just going to squeeze it on the back of this. This is what I normally squeeze my foundations on. If you can see, it's a very thick formula. I have sprayed it on there and it is not moving. A lot of foundations I try, or the typical foundations I like a lot of the times, are more liquidy formula. So when I put it on here, it will like run down. This is a very thick formula and I applied about 2 pumps. Now in terms of applicators this week, typically you know I always come on here and say Beauty Blender is where it's at. I love this with the Beauty Blender. This foundation works trash with a Beauty Blender in my opinion, and I'll show you on camera just a little demonstration of how it looks. Now my Beauty Blender is dirty. I've used all of them this week, so I'm going to use my Real Technique sponge. It works just as good. This is how it applies with a Real Technique sponge. I'm just going to do a little area. It blends, you have to dab a little bit, but it blends. But with the brush, I feel like you can just go. It just glides effortlessly without kind of having to dab a few times. It just kind of works. And again, I'm applying Warm Caramel onto my face. If you guys can see, it is looking like an amazing kind of match to me, more so than Nutmeg. A lot of things I've seen online, because I actually did watch a few people's reviews on this foundation before actually trying it out, just because I was, with 45 shades, you just don't know what you are. So I didn't watch them overall for their reviews, although they did say their thoughts in some of these videos, but I did watch them a little bit to get the shade match. They were so all over the place. People who I think I look up to as my foundation shade twinsies, they had different shades going on. I was like, child, y'all making it hard for me. I have to buy Nutmeg and Warm Caramel because y'all trying all over the spectrum. So this is what the foundation looks like freshly applied, and I'm going to actually bring the camera up in person or up close to me so you can kind of see how it looks. Don't mind my under eye. A thing I never do on camera, and I never explain why I don't do it, is I do not apply foundation up to my eye. That's a tip I would give to people. Please don't, especially if you have kind of mature skin. I put myself on the side of getting to, like, I'm hitting my 30s and sometimes I have to do things that I didn't do in the past. I say don't put your foundation up to your eye, because if you're going to also put concealer on, that's too much product. Try to leave this area open. You don't have to bring your concealer. So my eye, I always kind of leave this area and then apply around here. Just leave a little bit of area so that you can actually put your concealer on there. That's one thing I would say. But overall, this is how it looks. Matches me a lot better, I would say, than I think Nutmeg. Nutmeg is a medium deep. Warm Caramel is a medium. I just think Nutmeg probably was a little bit warmer on me. I probably just didn't realize it. So I just want to kind of show you how it looks and how it settles down right after application. It settles down pretty quickly. Not fully matte right now, but it is definitely transitioning. By the time I put on the rest of my face and come back, it'll probably be transitioned down to a fully matte finish. But let me go ahead, apply the rest of my face, and be right back. So now I am back after applying the rest of my face, and this is how the foundation looks after the rest of my face is applied. Just gonna get up in camera. Again, I use Warm Caramel for the entirety of my face, but I also let the foundation sit on my arm a little bit so that it can kind of oxidize. Again, this is Warm Caramel for reference. This is Nutmeg for reference. As you can see, now that it's dried down a little bit, Nutmeg is definitely a little bit darker. You can kind of see those cool undertones, and this is medium with neutral undertones. You can kind of see that too. So I guess it takes applying it on somewhere that's not your face for me to see, okay, I can see the little differences. But again, these shades aren't right beside each other. In a normal foundation line, these two shades would be right beside. They would be sisters and brothers. But there are at least, I think, 2 or 3 shades in between Warm Caramel and Nutmeg. So just a point of reference, I think they do a good job of splitting up the undertones and all that. But getting back to my face, this is what it looks like applied with the rest of my products on my face. I don't think it's oxidized that much. I think it kind of settled into my natural skin tone. I don't think it looks, you know, there's not a huge discrepancy from chest to face, and that's what I look for. I don't want there to be no discrepancies. Now, in terms of how the foundation overall looks, it's a very much so lightweight foundation. Doesn't feel like I have a lot of foundation on. It's full coverage, so it says, but it's not the fullest coverage out there. I'd say it's medium to full. I did use those 2 pumps, and then I don't think I showed in the camera, I did apply a little bit extra of a pump just because I wanted to really beef it up to full coverage. I think it's nowhere near the full coverageness of the Revlon Colorstay. That's my favorite, hands down, full coverage foundation in the drugstore. It's a little bit cheaper than this foundation, but it doesn't have the shade ranges like this foundation does. This foundation is very comparable in terms of texture, in terms of thickness, in terms of just overall to the Maybelline full coverage foundation. I tried that foundation recently. That color shade was a little off for me, but overall I did have some very much so similarities to this foundation, good and bad. But I just wanted to come on here real quick and show you guys how it looks with the rest of my face, and I will be back at the end of the day to share with you guys my full thoughts, because I do have pretty strong opinions about this foundation at the end of the day. So see you guys in a few hours. So now I am back with my final thoughts on the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop, Rockefeller Records to the We Get Down, baby, We Get Down foundation. Now, this is what it looks like after 7 hours. I know that might not be very long, but I did kind of want to give you guys an overall view of it and overall my opinion at the end of the day, because like I said, I've worn this foundation throughout the week. The longest I think I wore it was one day I went to the UNC Charlotte Career Fair, and I put it on about 7. I got back, got home, took all my makeup off at 12 midnight, so almost a little short, maybe 18 hours of wear. So I've worn this foundation for long periods of time over this last week, and I have a pretty good opinion on it. Now let me get up in camera so you guys can kind of overall see. I said initially, I don't think this foundation oxidized. If you guys can see a little bit, again, warm caramel is the shade I used. This, it did a little bit. If you guys can see a little bit, I didn't bring it all the way down my neck because I just don't do that a lot of times. It did oxidize a little bit. It's not bad because it does match kind of the rest of my body, but the neck area, if I had like a closed neck type of situation, it wouldn't look super weird, but because my neck is kind of a little bit different, you kind of can see that oxidation. So it does oxidize a little bit, but again, nutmeg would have been way too dark of a shade. Now, don't think I'm dirty, don't think I'm nasty, but I did leave it on my hand. Now I did wash my hands. Now I went a couple places, I washed my hands, I used hand sanitizer, but I was really careful to avoid the back of my hand because I really wanted this to last all day. So I did a little bit of rubbing, a little bit of this, but I wanted to overall still show you guys how this lasted throughout the day. Now in terms of transfer, this hasn't gone anywhere. Like if I rub it, and this foundation is supposed to be waterproof, if I rub it, this foundation literally does not move itself from my skin. So when it says staying power, it says transfer resistance, that is something that this foundation really does. Now if you see, it did oxidize over my hand. It looks very, like, again, this is warm caramel, this is nutmeg. The shades ain't that far off. So nutmeg, if you have it and you're like, oopsie, I bought this before watching your video, it might not work for you. It might actually work for you. Now I realized when I was applying it earlier with the Real Technique sponge, it actually looked like it was applying well. Like you're probably like, it didn't look like it was applying bad with it, but over this last week it wanted to act good on camera. You know how things want to show out when you're on camera and prove you wrong. Trust me, this is a brush foundation. I think it works way better with a brush. It's a very thick formula, very thick. Now you can get away with a more liquidy foundation with a beauty blender, but with this one, trust me when I say brush is the way to go with this. It just blends out a lot better overall throughout the rest of the face. Now before I get into the cons though, let me talk about this lippy that I have on right now. I bought this from Colored Rain. I bought a lot of fall lips from them. Let me just say, throughout the day though, this has been so hard. Why didn't y'all tell me these dark lips was so hard to maintain? How do you stop? I want you guys as advice. How do you stop like a dark lip from bleeding? Because I have a lot of, like, throughout the day it'll just start bleeding down and I have to have a brush on hand to kind of go over it. What do you guys do like when it starts fading a little bit? How do you make this lip pop throughout the day? Back to the face, the cons that I have about this foundation: dry. If you are a dry skin person, this foundation is going to feel very dry on your face. It feels very dry on my face. When I rub this right here, very dry on my arm. It is just a very dry foundation, which may be gold to an oily skin person. An oily skin person might be like, yes, I need a dry matte foundation. If you are dry skin, you may not need this foundation. The NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop foundation for you, if you are dry skin, it's not gonna be our one run out and buy foundation. It is very much so lightweight on the face, but you feel kind of dry. It feels like you want to put lotion on and you like, I feel like I need to put some moisturizer on. I use a very hydrating primer. You're gonna use your most hydrating primers, moisturizers, and all this before you apply this foundation, and you're still probably gonna feel very dry. Please don't buy the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop primer with this. I would say, I know they're supposed to be paired together. You know how people always try to sell you on a combo primer foundation foundation mix. Don't get sold on that because you will feel even drier. These two do not need to go together. In terms of lasting power, I think if you apply enough, I use 2.5 pumps, you will get a little bit more lasting power. Again, this is what it looks like after 7 hours, which is 1 more hour will be kind of a typical work day, and I think you can get by on a typical work day. I'd say past the 10-hour mark is where it starts breaking down. When I mean breaking down, it doesn't look terrible, but it starts kind of fading away. Like it just, the dryness just dries on right off your face, and you don't look as popping as you did at the beginning of the day. So overall, just to go over pros, like the shade range, you cannot beat how great this shade range is. They did a phenomenal job. I think for a lot of people, their shade is going to be out there. If you have to mix, it's a very inexpensive foundation to mix. You should probably have much more success than you would with any other drugstore foundation finding your match. That's what I would say. I think it's very lightweight. I think it's transfer resistant, and I think it would be amazing for somebody who has oily skin. But for the cons, I would say this is a no-no for us dry skin people out there. I probably will not reach for this as often as I should. I think I put it in the same category that I do the Maybelline's full coverage foundation. That foundation was full coverage, but it felt like it wasn't my favorite full coverage foundation from the drugstore. I think if you're looking for full coverage from the drugstore, I have not found anything yet that beats my Revlon Colorstay foundation. I just recently repurchased that. I'll leave my video up above on my Revlon Colorstay review. I don't have the shades that I mentioned in there. I don't use those two anymore and mix them together. I found a dead on ringer, and I think it's shade 375. I'll list it up above right now if I'm incorrect, but I found a Revlon Colorstay that is my skin match. So if you watched my Revlon Colorstay video a long time ago and you were like, oh, we're shade twinsies, I found a match that is my dead on shade. I'm not going to redo the video, but that shade is my perfect shade. So if you're looking for full coverage, I think that foundation is a little bit cheaper. Now the thing about them, they don't have the range that this foundation does, but I think that it has the coverage that you're really looking for. It has the staying power that you're looking for if you are trying to get this foundation. This isn't a not recommend. This is a not recommend if you have dry skin like me. Dry to normal, we're not going to get along with this foundation. I think there are better options for us out there, but I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong down below in the comment section. If you kind of have the same skin type as me, let me know down below. How do you feel about this foundation? If you're my foundation shade twinsy, if there's a foundation that I should have gotten instead, maybe warm caramel and nutmeg, both may not be our matches. Maybe you know something that I don't know. Let me know down below in the comments. If you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at Lia Lavon 89, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Tell me what you want to know. Me, I no go lose.